Thanks for joining us. Palestinians are once again being told to move away from Rafah, considered Gaza's last refuge. Israel's order comes as a full-scale military invasion looms over the area. Now, at the same time, rallies right around the world, including here in Ontario, continue to call for an end to the war. Ithil Musa has our top story.
They've packed all their belongings into vehicles, and now they're trying to flee. Residents of Rafah and displaced Gazans are heeding Israel's warning to leave. When we were in Gaza City, they told us to evacuate to Khan Yunis, says pediatrician Mohammed Abu Al-As. They told us to go to Rafah, and now to leave Rafah. Israel ordered Palestinians to evacuate more areas of the southern city on Saturday and head to western parts of the Gaza Strip as it prepares to step up its military offensive against Hamas, a strategy this expert says has not worked.
Hamas has not been destroyed. I think 7 months in now, people are realizing that Israel's stated goal was never achievable. And instead of destroying Hamas, what Israel has done is to simply destroy all of Gaza.
Hours before Israel's evacuation order, the U.S. said there was reasonable evidence it may have breached international law protecting civilians. Meanwhile, inside Israel, demonstrators took to the streets to demand the release of all hostages held in Gaza and to call for the resignation of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and for early elections to be held. In cities across the globe, pro-Palestinian protesters continued their call for an end to the war in Gaza, including Edmonton, Montreal.
We're here because we don't like to see children being bombed.
Ottawa, Toronto.
We won't rest until Palestine is liberated.
And Winnipeg. The United Nations warns a full-scale invasion of Rafah will only further impair humanitarian operations and cause a surge in civilian casualties. Ithil Musa, CBC News, Toronto.
In other news tonight, Peel police are still on scene of an early morning shooting in Brampton.
Officers arrived on scene and located an adult male inside of a vehicle suffering from gunshot wounds. He was transported to hospital where he has since been pronounced deceased. And we've been able to ascertain that the male is a man in his 40s from Toronto.
Police believe the shooting was targeted, but there is no information yet on a suspect or suspects. Police are asking people to avoid the area as they investigate. Anyone with information is asked to contact them. Police are also calling for witnesses in another deadly shooting, this one at Eglinton West and Northcliffe Boulevard in Toronto. Just after 5 this morning, police found a woman at a residence. She was pronounced dead on scene. So far, no suspect details in this case either. Several families already grieving the loss of their loved ones say they feel disrespected after cemetery staff in Ajax removed decorative and personal belongings from grave sites. The company that runs the cemetery says the cleanup was planned and was done to preserve the natural beauty of the area. But as Ryan Patrick Jones shows us, families say sentimental items were lost or damaged.
Siobhan Parchment visits her son's grave at Pine Ridge Memorial Gardens. Aiden Hendricks was only 9 years old when he died of brain cancer. Siobhan says decorating his final resting place over the past 6 years has become a form of therapy.
For us, making these gardens, decorating it the way that we want it to be, it's so much easier for us to feel some sort of peace, some sort of closeness with our loved ones that have passed over. It's like they've kind of snatched that away with no warning.
While visiting her son's grave the day before his birthday last month, Siobhan was shocked to learn many items she had placed there had been removed. She says shepherd's hooks, solar lights, a lantern with a candle and Aiden's picture, and a bracelet made by a family member were among the items taken away.
I feel robbed, and it's really sad. It's sad because you work so hard on something and it's like there's no disregard, there's no remorse, there's no apologies, no nothing.
14-year-old Zalik Murray befriended Aiden in the hospital before he also died of brain cancer. His mother and grandmother say they were also upset when Zalik's grave was cleaned.
It's like unfair. Like, why would you do that? All we want to do is remember our loved ones with some sentimental stuff that are important to us, that were important to them. So for you to just take it like it's garbage, like, it's not okay.
We already lost him. He went through so much. And if this is all we can do to remember him, and they're going to take that away from us, what next?
So this is what the new person that works here has decided to do with all of our tokens of love.
The decorations removed from across the cemetery were initially placed in a pile on the ground for family members to collect. Some have since been moved to tables. Arbor Memorial says it removed decorative items to preserve the cemetery's natural beauty, for safety, and to comply with its bylaws. It said it communicated its plan to families using signs, phone calls, and emails 6 months before the cleanup took place. A spokesperson said, while we understand the sentimental value these decorative items can hold, complaints about the volume of decorative items and cemetery standards prompted the need for this. Adding, we've increased staff to assist families with locating items. But Siobhan Parchment says she wasn't given advance notice, and now she can't find many of her possessions.
The lantern was broken completely. My picture of my son was gone. The bracelet is completely gone as well. My solar lights, I cannot find them either.
She wants an apology and vows to continue her therapeutic tradition of decorating her son's grave.
The bylaws to me doesn't really mean anything. I'm still going to decorate it because I just feel that that's the right thing to do.
Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
It is a light show unlike any other, all thanks to powerful solar storms this weekend. More people than usual are getting to see the northern lights. Scientists say it's the most significant geomagnetic storm in 20 years. Millions of people in our country, the U.S. and Europe, are able to see the lights without having to travel to the far north. The massive solar flares causing those space storms can disrupt electronic communications and even cause power blackouts. But in return, you get a chance to witness a rare and spectacular event. Let's bring in Sophia now to tell us more about it. You're the one we turn to anytime there's cool science news. You can break it down and explain it for us.
Well, solar storms of this magnitude, Shannon, are legendary in the space and weather community. Here's some pictures from folks around our region that saw it, and here's what it looked like on satellite imagery as NASA saw those dancing lights above us from some of those satellites. It's super cool, or should I say, super hot. It's solar flares. Every once in a while, the sun goes on a peak cycle every 11 years, and it coughs out some of these supercharged particles our way. They get pulled in by the Earth's atmospheres, and the Earth's magnetic poles usually distribute them to the north and to the south, where they interact and react with different gases in the Earth's atmosphere. The green colors you see are usually because of their reaction with oxygen, the pinks and the reds with nitrogen. This time, though, it was so strong and so far-reaching that folks in Florida and California and the Bahamas, just to name a few, for example, were able to see this dazzling geomagnetic storm. Here's one of our meteorologists in North Carolina that snapped this picture outside of his house. It was also maxed out on the extremity and severity scale, a feat that's only happened once this century, Shannon. That was back in 2003, as you mentioned, and it was cloudy then, so we didn't get the incredible view that we had last night. Now, we are still nearing the end and the decline of this peak solar storm. You'll be able to catch a little bit of it tonight and even the next night as well, but it's going to be cloudy, folks, and the solar severity of this storm isn't as far-reaching or as severe, but still go out and have a look if you can. Showers and rain move into the overnight period, and it's on and off for your Mother's Day Sunday as well, especially cloudy for the first half of your day. And this weak troughing system will actually be with us until Wednesday in earnest, as you could have a slight risk of storms every day and some gloomy clouds before we warm up and dry up for the end of the week. I will have that long-range forecast and your full Mother's Day Sunday forecast for you in the long range, Shannon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
In Alberta, fast-moving wildfires are forcing people to leave their homes. Sam Sanson is in Edmonton with more on the measures in place and the evacuations.
the wind really pushed smoke and flame around Grand Prairie County, forcing people near Teepee Creek out of their homes. That out-of-control fire east of Grand Prairie and another west of the city forced the county into a local state of emergency. Parts of the region are now under an evacuation order. 17 homes have been forced out so far. Evacuees were told they could register at this hotel in Grand Prairie.
We have had people report to the reception center, and I believe we are homing some of the families. Some of the families have gone to other locations as well.
There's one other out-of-control wildfire in Alberta near Fort McMurray. Everyone in that city is on an evacuation alert. The fire is about 16 kilometers southwest of the city, and with the wind, it grew about 500 hectares in 24 hours.
We've also been doing night operations on it. So we were using our night vision helicopter last night to bucket on it, and it was quite successful. We just need the weather to cooperate with us and the wind speeds to die down a bit, and hopefully we can get it to a being held status soon.
The alert triggers memories of 2016 when the city burned in a catastrophic wildfire.
We had to evacuate the entire city, which was unprecedented, and something that that I'm very proud to say that our community did. But I think we're a long ways away from that just yet. We have the alert out as an abundance of precaution.
The fires in northern Alberta and in BC are casting massive shadows of smoke across the west. There are air quality statements in effect for northeastern BC, stretching all the way to Saskatoon. Now here in Edmonton, the Air Quality Health Index is the highest in Canada. It's at 10 plus, which means there are extremely high risks of health issues tied just to breathing. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
And here's a look at BC, where more than 3,000 people have been forced to leave their homes due to wildfire. Fort Nelson and Fort Nelson First Nation got an evacuation notice last night. The Parker Lake fire has since quadrupled in size. The mayor says the fire started after high winds blew over a tree, causing it to fall on power lines and burst into flames. Now, dry conditions and strong winds up to 70 kilometers an hour are making matters worse. Many people say they're getting stuck in long lines on the highway. And we have some sad news from the hockey world tonight. Former Toronto Maple Leaf Ron Ellis has died. He was part of the late Leafs team to win the Stanley Cup back in 1967. He's fifth on the team's all-time goals list with 332. Ellis also played with Team Canada in the 1972 Summit Series against the Soviet Union. Ron Ellis was 79 years old. A special event believed to be the first of its kind in Toronto is taking place this Mother's Day weekend, bringing together people who are grieving the loss of their moms. I had a chance to sit down with the organizer at Paris, that's a restaurant on Ossington, who's hosting tomorrow's brunch.
It's okay to celebrate something that's sad. It's okay to do something that's different. We're actually calling it the pity party that you actually want to go to. Because most pity parties, they suck, but we actually want to raise a glass to these people. We want to hold memory of all of our moms that are no longer with us. So it's not about my mom, it's not about Johanna's mom, it's about everybody's mom that's at the table and everybody else who shares in that loss of a mom. Even if you've become a mom yourself, it's still a hard day for anybody that doesn't have the opportunity to celebrate the person that raised them.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something that you've been navigating for a while. Like, this event is inspired by your own personal experience and navigating these moments for the last
7 years.
7 years now, yeah.
Yeah, I lost my mom 7 years ago. She passed away by suicide, and figuring out how to spend this day has always been something that's been difficult. And in organizing this event, I also found out that, you know, Shohana, who I'm so excited to have be a part of this, she lost her mom 7 years ago too. So for anybody who's lost a mom or a parent, there are specific days that hold specific meanings. It can be a birthday, it can be the anniversary of their passing, it could be a random day walking down the grocery aisle and you see the ice cream that you used to buy, and those days can always be challenging. But one that we all connect in, if you've lost a mom, is Mother's Day. So I figured, you know, let's try and do something about it. Let's create a space that feels like it exists for us on one that we never had one.
Yeah. So when you got the call from her, like, what went through your mind when she says, hey, I've got this idea, do you want to take part?
I mean, my first thought was, how is this not a thing already? A day for like Mother's Day has always been so complicated, as Amanda mentioned. I lost my mom in March of 2017, so also 7 years. And for 7 years, I've been kind of looking for the right thing on this day.
My mother was buried 100 days ago. I'm fine. I'm on a date. Everything's fine.
A lot of my work in comedy has been around grief and wanting to create space for grief. I think it's so silly that an experience as universal as grief is treated like a taboo in society, that we can't talk about it. It has to be in silent, hushed tones. You can talk about it in therapy, you can talk about it at the hospital, but you can't bring it out into the world. I want to be as loud as possible about my grief. My grief will not go away, and it will be a part of me for the rest of my life. So
you've written so beautifully about your grief and your loss and feeling lonely in that, but how channeling your art, as you say, has really helped you along the way.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think for me, the connection between grief and comedy has always felt like a natural one, because grief for me, and I think for a lot of people, centers around isolation, because you cannot explain this sadness to others. You are alone, you feel like no one understands this. Comedy is connection. Humor is connection. It's when you laugh at something together, you are connecting around that thing. So for me, the isolation of grief and the connection of humor, it was just a natural combination.
Tell us more about what we can expect on the day and take us through some of the things we have on the table.
We've partnered with Therapy Notebooks. They've provided a notebook to every guest. It's a book that's created by therapists to make therapy more accessible, but to also have something to do to speak to your grief on your own. And in that same vein, Good Neighbor, an amazing neighborhood department store, they've donated cards. And something that I find catharsis and relief in is writing a note to my mom or myself on her birthdays, on Mother's Day, on the anniversary of her passing. And we're going to be doing that as an activity.
So if you had any advice for people to navigate this day who care and love about you, but they don't know how to express that, how would you?
I think the power of checking in is such a strong one. We never know what somebody's going through on the other side, and I think so many people who aren't a direct part of the loss, they can fear that bringing it up is going to bring up emotions in our heads. Maybe we weren't thinking about our mom on a specific day, and they're like, oh, I don't want to bring her to that place by saying something. But saying something and just being there is the most important thing. Anytime that somebody else is like, I remember what today is for you, regardless of what they say beyond that, goes such a long way. And I think sometimes it, shifts relationships that we have with people, is how they support us in our loss and how we support people in their own situations. It's such a key part of all of our beings, and support can go such a long way.
Well, it's going to be a beautiful day. Thank you guys so much for sharing all of this and creating this space. A portion of the proceeds from the event are being donated to CAMH, a cause that's close to Amanda's heart. So far, the fundraiser has already surpassed her goal of $10,000. You can find out more by heading to Instagram at motherless.day. We're heading into a quick break. Sophia is back with your forecast next. Toronto is just one win away from advancing in the PWHL playoffs. A late goal by Jesse Comper in the third opened up the scoring.
Quick work, panic. Now Emma Malte gets it back for Toronto. Fast from the point. They score!
Toronto would tally on one more, an empty net goal to win the game 2-0. With the victory, Toronto leads the best-of-5 semifinal series 2-0. Toronto can complete the sweep with a win in Minnesota on Monday. Mother's Day celebrations are taking place across the province this weekend. Here in Toronto, National Dog Mom Day is being marked with positive photo ops.
Turn, there.
Dog moms and their pups were able to get free professional portraits at the Young Eglinton Centre this afternoon. A pop-up market with dog-focused vendors and prizes were also part of the fun. You got to get the dogs in on the fun. What are you looking forward to tomorrow, Sophia? With the
Maybe
rain?
some time away from everybody, if I'm going to be totally honest.
Alone time.
I think there is a really savvy breakfast in bread in the works for me, and maybe some construction paper cards.
Nice.
Yeah, a little bit of rain and umbrellas for the walk if we go on one tomorrow. Shannon, a happy early Mother's Day to you and to all of those celebrating or commemorating out there. It's not going to be the best weather for your Mother's Day, but it's not going to be a total washout either. Maybe Mom will be gifted to a beautiful sight like this into the overnight period as well. Go out and try to see the auroras again tonight, but as we said earlier, it's not as strong or as far-reaching overnight showers. It's this weak troughing pattern in place over top of us, really right until Tuesday. You might get some clearing in the Moosonee area into the overnight period, and then look at your Mother's Day Sunday. Nice for those of you in the southwestern portion of the province, but not a washout for everybody else. The morning or the first half of the day should just be cloudy with a slight chance of showers. That chance heightens into the afternoon period, and then Sunday night into Monday, it's this weak troughing system and this frontal system that will push in heavier rain for the Monday morning commute. Chance of showers and slight risk of storms sticks with us throughout Monday, especially for that early morning rumble of thunder possibility. Nothing severe, but just some heavier rain, and then showers throughout your day. On Tuesday, we don't finally dry out until Wednesday and Thursday, but really, all in all, it's a seasonal week for you, especially the second half of the week. We are looking at a glorious end, but sort of a weak, cool, and just a little bit below seasonal pattern for Mother's Day and for the first half of this week. And again, if you are heading out tonight to try to see the auroras, storm chance isn't until Monday morning. It's lesser on that severity scale, a G3, but still kind of a cool early Mother's Day gift for many of the moms out there, Shannon. And again, a happy Mother's Day to you and to everybody else.
Thank you so much. A beautiful way to celebrate. Sophia, have a good one. Enjoy the breakfast in bed. You deserve it. We'll see you soon.
Shannon.
That's it for us. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to take you back now to Yonge and Eglinton, where dog moms and their pups were enjoying a very special afternoon, getting their photos taken. Thanks so much. We'll see you again on Sunday.